everybody. Welcome back to the City Rev Life Podcast. So good to have you join us. My name's Craig. I'm here with Pastor Robey. I'm here with Angelica. We're continuing our series on marriage, working our way through 1 Corinthians 13, looking at some of the traits that we find in that passage, how it applies to our marriage. Basically, if I could sum it up, we were trying to figure out a way to show our husband or our wife the best of our love.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Whoa. The best of our love.
Yes.
You don't know that one?
Come
on. Oh, that was a classic.
That's two softballs in a row.
Man, I thought for sure that one would hit.
She committed to us that she would sing every
Maybe we need
time.
to put together like a Spotify playlist for her or something.
Maybe.
Okay.
If you're just joining us in this series, at the beginning, Angelica committed to Craig and I that every time we said a love song phrase, she would break out into song, and she did good for two episodes, and these last two.
Yes, I dropped the ball.
In the next episode, you better redeem yourself.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that is a great summary, Craig, about this series. We're talking about walking through 1 Corinthians 13. It's a profound chapter on love that we're specifically applying in the context of marriage. And it's just the idea is just to refresh marriage, to kind of breathe fresh life into it. What's so powerful about 1 Corinthians 13 is it's not like super like deep. It's not like these uncovering these treasures that no one ever's thought of. It's so the profundity is in the simplicity of it. Yeah. It's just so crisp and easy, and we're like, yeah, I really needed that reminder. It's that kind of stuff. Yeah. So where we're looking at is in verse 5, 1 Corinthians 13:5, and I'll just read these two we're going to look at just really quickly. It just says, it is not, so love is not irritable or resentful. And these two concepts are very relatable and they're very rich. So the idea of irritable is not just like, oh, I'm grouchy. The idea is I'm not easily provoked. So the idea it's about me. It's a quality that each of us need to look inside and say, hey, do I get angry easily? Like, can I just let things roll off my back? Like, do I always like get upset? Do I get frustrated? Do I escalate with anger like quickly get defensive? Or can I just roll with it like sometimes? Like, can I just overlook things? And love is able to not get provoked. That's an outflow of love. Mm-hmm. The other one is translated here as resentful, but the actual literal Greek here is literally love does not keep a record of wrongs. And so by resentful, it's not piling up a list. And this is just such a great description of how our human minds work with another person, is we have a way of keeping and rehearsing the list of things that someone's done. Like, we can have an impulse like, I can't remember what it was I did last week, but I know it was something. Oh, that's right. And then we keep it fresh. Like, we have a way of making sure we keep the list of wrongs fresh, but love does not do that. Now, I want you to see how these two things work together, because there's a real narrow path here that the scripture is calling us to, which we shouldn't be surprised. Jesus talked about godliness as a narrow path, but in other words, you can fall off one way and fall off the other. So how do you walk the narrow path here? On one hand, we need to like not just immediately blow up and like kind of fall off this side. We need to just say, okay, you know what? I can let it go. But sometimes we don't blow up, but we haven't let it go. We haven't let it go. We're holding on to it. And so
bury it way deep down.
Yeah. And we bury it. And so it may look like we've let it go, and we may have told ourselves that we've released it and we're not keeping a record of wrongs, but silently, quietly, we're holding on to it and nursing it. And so that's the other side we can fall. Right. There are times when, it's never good to blow up and just be not have self-control in how I'm handling. But what can happen is sometimes there can be a big blowout, but at least it's gotten out. Other times it's a slow time bomb. And then when it blows up, it's like things from last month, last year, a decade ago, things that are never let go. And we can go on one side or the other, and we need to kind of walk the narrow path here, where sometimes we do just need to let it go, but we actually need to let it go. Yeah. It's not that, hey, I'm not going to bring it up because I am avoiding conflict, but I'm just going to save it for later. Right. It's I either need to bring it up with gentleness and love, or I actually need to let it go. Those are my only options. Right. I don't want to blow up. I don't need to be easily provoked, but I need to keep a short list here. I can't just hold on to the record of wrongs. So the way these two things work together, because some of us have the tendency to get easily provoked and we blow up. Yeah. Some of us have a tendency to kind of avoid conflict, and so we simmer and we have this growing list and we're a time bomb. And so some of us can kind of go on one or the other, and we actually, what it's advocating for is neither of those two.
Trying to handle these disagreements or disappointments or conflict in a healthy way, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Not doing the unhealthy way that's so natural to us for whatever reason. It's just like we have one bend or another, and we just either we just fly off the handle, or we, bury deep down and we build resentment and kind of poisons us from the inside out. It's like, no, you got to deal with this in a healthy way.
We can get cold and distant, or really on fire and hot and explosive.
Yeah.
And we need to not do either. We need to not be easily provoked, and there are things we need to let it go. And then we just need to let it go. Like, we have to forget it and move on. But if it's a thing that shouldn't be let go, or can't be let go, then we need to handle it, and we need to talk about it. Here's the danger. If we are easily provoked and we blow up, it's easier to see how that's damaging, but let's just remind ourselves that's damaging. Yeah. We say things that we regret. Yeah. We say things that now instead of resolving conflict and healing from wounds, we've added new wounds. Yeah. And I think every human alive has been in the conundrum of, you've wounded me, and now how I've dealt with my wounds has dealt you wounds. So now you're wounded and I'm wounded. Whose wounds do we deal with first?
It's just like a cycle of despair.
Yeah, and so then I'm saying, well, you did this. Well, you did this. Well, you do this. You do this. And now we're just stuck just lobbing grenades back and forth at each other. And so we can do damage in blowing up and being not controlled and saying things in a not a gentle, loving manner. And so but that's easier to see. Yeah. The one that's harder to see the damage, but the damage is, it is deadly, is the keeping the record of wrongs. Yes. What's happening there? What it says in Ephesians, it unpacks this more. In Ephesians 4, it says, don't let the sun go down on your anger, which means don't keep this record of wrongs, and don't simmer and marinate in your bitterness. Don't nurse that bitterness. Don't keep that bitterness alive. And a lot of times we do it without even realizing we're doing it. Why? This is what it says. It says, because you're giving a foothold to the devil. Yeah. And who is the devil? The devil is a liar. He's a deceiver. That's one of the first things we're introduced in the whole Bible as to the devil. He is a liar and a deceiver. And so he uses that bitterness to lie to us. Mm-hmm. And so what he does is, if I'm holding, and he does this in any relationship, but it is absolutely deadly in marriage, but in any friend, coworker, parent, extended family member, sibling, child, or spouse, if I'm keeping that record of wrongs, then the enemy just starts lying in my ear about that person. Right. And he's taking a little bit of the truth of, they were thoughtless, but then he morphs it, and the enemy and he will slowly turn that person into a monster. It'll slowly shrivel that person in my mind to the sum of their flaws. And if you've ever talked to someone about someone else, someone they're bitter about, they will describe that person as this shriveled, terrible monster. And if you then sit down with that person, you're like, wait a minute, they're not a monster.
Right.
I mean, they have some weaknesses,
Right.
but what's happened in your brain to view that person? The devil.
Right.
Yeah.
The devil sowed these lies and has just kind of mutated that person into just a monstrous view of themselves, and not at all reality, and not at all the way God views them. So in marriage, if we keep a record of wrongs down in our hearts, man, it is absolutely deadly. The devil starts lying to us about our spouse. And this beautiful, precious, incredible gift from God to us that we fell in love with, albeit flawed, because no human is perfect, but this beautiful gift that's been given to us becomes this monster because we've allowed the devil to get a foothold and start lying to us.
And it's just so easy for us to categorize people. And I feel like our brains just work that way. So can just be someone in your mind, maybe it's your spouse, right? And or maybe it's just you have other relationships, and it's so easy they do something and then you categorize them, right? So they do something thoughtless and they are a thoughtless person, right?
Yeah.
Or they do something selfish and they are a selfish person. Or they do something judgmental, they are a judgmental person. And then everything they do, it's just easy for our brain to just kind of find the connection and find and be like, well, they did that because they're a selfish person, or they did that because they're a thoughtless person, and then it just kind of builds and builds and builds, and it's almost like a lawyer building a case of like, okay, I'm gonna prove to myself and prove to the world this is who this person is, and it just poisons and saps out all love. Like there's no love there anymore. It's just some poison in us.
It's that's why we say, you always do this.
Right. Yeah.
And then they say, I don't always do this. Like just yesterday I didn't. No, you always. Why? Because we've done that. We've built a case.
And we forget the examples that go against that, right? We forget all the good times, and we just remember the bad.
It's like if you're like buying, if you're going to buy a new car, and let's say you decide you're going to buy a minivan, and it's like there's a particular minivan you want to buy. Well, all of a sudden you see it everywhere on the road, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you get exposed to a conspiracy theory for the first time, and all of a sudden now everything is evidence for that.
You find the connections.
You find the connections. Our brains are wired to do that. So if we're nursing bitterness, then we will continue to connect the dots, and then we say, you always do this. And I think a lot of times we're exaggerating to make a point. Sometimes we actually believe that because our minds have been so twisted by the lies of the devil. And it's not to overstate it. It's what it says in Ephesians chapter 4. So what's the solution here of walking this narrow path in our relationships of love? And especially, I mean, we've got to do this in marriage. We have to get good at this in marriage. We have to have a regular rhythm of keeping a clean record. We just have to do that. Why don't we do that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes we're just conflict avoidant.
Yeah.
And we just, I don't want to do this. And
I want to bury it deep down and deal with it 10 years from now. That's what I prefer.
Exactly. Or never deal with it. And
maybe I'll die one day and we'll never bring it up.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And so part of it, we don't have a regular, sometimes it's just practical. It's like we're not making time for us.
Yeah.
And we don't have, and so it's like we have like one date day or date night, a month. And it's like, well, let's not use that to unload all the things we're angry at each other. That's
a terrible date.
That's an awful date. Now no one's excited about. That's a recipe for not doing date night.
That's like, we need to end this date night. This is not fun. We need to go home early.
Right. We've got to. I mean, we're just running around so crazy. And this is one of the important things about. You just have to have time to sit and talk and catch up. Yeah. That's one reason. It's just practical. The other reason is because the other reason we keep a record of wrongs is because we're easily provoked and defensive. Yes. So it's like we don't bring things up to each other because when something is brought up, we all explode. And it's like we have just got to work through that. And can we all embrace the truth? I am an imperfect person, married to an imperfect person. I should not be shocked and surprised, bewildered when someone brings up a flaw. Like, whoa, what's happening to me right now? Why are you bringing this up? Like, am I surprised? My spouse has to put up with me all the time and I'm imperfect, and God is using them to bring up these imperfections. And they're going to bring up the imperfections imperfectly.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so it's like, what we do is we shoot the messenger. It's like, oh, you're bringing this up to me now of all times, or you're bringing it up to me in this way. Like we're easily provoked. Like,
Or I'm surprised it's my wife that brings it up to me because she's the one I love. But then who else is the one who has the front row seat to my life other than her?
Yeah.
So it's like, why is that surprising to me, right? It shouldn't be surprising to me.
Exactly. And so like this is part of it. There's a holistic thing that has to happen here. Like on one hand, we have to be encouraging, celebratory people in each other's lives.
Yeah.
We have to be filling each other's tank. We have to be encouraging to one another, because we don't want any time we just sit down to only be like pointing out. We're not just, the flaw police, like we've got to be building one another up. We've got to be encouraging one another. We have to have time to spend with one another. And we just really have to believe the gospel that I'm not surprised that I'm flawed.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm in progress. The gospel says I can never, ever say, well, this is just who you married and this is just who I am. And God's like, yeah, I actually literally promised I would be transforming you. Yeah. That's the process that you're on. So this idea of when you get married, just never change and I'll never change you and you'll never change me. That's literally the opposite. Like
the perfect puzzle pieces, right? We fit together. I found the perfect one. Now we're married. We're going to be the perfect union.
Yeah. No,
that's just not true.
It's actually more like jagged edges that God is filing away through us.
Oh my gosh. But, as we're describing all of this transformation, we're describing work.
Yeah.
It takes work to speak this in love. It takes work to make the time and discuss the issues that are going on. And we avoid it because at the end of the day, we're lazy. We don't want to do the work.
Yep.
I just want to go to bed, right? I just want to, I'm just tired. I don't want to deal with it right now, right? I just want to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we have to make space to do this work. And sometimes that's in counseling. A lot of times it's in counseling. Like it's like, hey, let's do this work and work through these things. And there are just some things we just got to let go. We just have to, you know what? I'm going to forgive them. I don't need to bring up every little thing. I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to blow up all the time.
Yeah.
Or I didn't appreciate the way they brought that up to me, but I'm going to overlook that so we can deal with it. Because if they have to say it 100% perfectly to me, I'm never going to hear anything, right? And I want to grow. I want to be a good husband, and I need to be able to hear that. And I'm not going to be surprised that I've got flaws that need to be corrected. And I'm going to go into, I'm not going to be surprised that marriage is it's the ultimate iron sharpening iron. God is making us into the image of his son. That's what he says. Yep. And he's going to use relationships, and chiefly among them is going to be my spouse. Yeah. And so, and it's okay that I'm flawed. God loves me. He loves me and he accepts me just where I'm at, but he's not leaving me where I'm at. He's transforming me, and he's going to use this precious person in my life to do that. So we've got to get good at working through these things. We've got to let go of the record of wrongs. We've got to bring them up with gentleness and respect. We can't savor this record of wrongs. We've got to forgive. We've got to work through conflict. It's essential as part of loving our spouse.
Yeah. By the grace of God, we can get there. We can get there.
We can get
by
there.
By his power. Well, I thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the City Rev Life podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was helpful for you. If there's anybody else in your life that you think this might be helpful, don't be passive-aggressive about it. Don't send it to your husband or wife passive-aggressively, but let them know beforehand. But if there's anyone else who this might be helpful for, share it. We would love that, and we'd love for you to join us next time on the podcast.
Thank you so much for listening to the City Rev Life podcast. Feel free to subscribe and leave a rate and review. We love it when you share it with your friends on social media, so don't forget to tag us at cityrev.church. If you're interested in more resources, download our City Rev Church app and follow us on social media. Have a great day.